Hey everybody, Phil from Two Forks here. So this is a chair that we designed and built here, and I made one recently, not too long ago, and I used Garapa Gold, kind of a mahogany thing, and it was intended for an outdoor chair, but as it turns out, we keep it in the office because we really like it and it looks good. But my brother needed a couple new chairs for outside, so I decided to make him a couple. And I'm just using Doug fir because I can't afford the mahogany for my brother, and that's what he gets. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it. It's just 4 2x6s and a 2x8, and pretty easy thing to do. It does require a fair amount of mortise and tenoning. So if you saw some of my videos, you know how to do that on your drill press, or if you have a domino jig like I have, then it makes it real easy. But I'll show you without the cushions on it. This whole area here is going to be mortise and tenon. I don't really see any way of getting around that one. These on the bottom, which I didn't care so much how that looked, you could probably get away with screwing those in. And in fact, they screw most of the stuff together. All this big assembly here is screwed in from the outside. The arms are all screwed in. So really, this is the only thing that requires some mortise and tenoning. But that's not terrible. I think you could probably do that if you have a mortising jig on your drill press. And I'll turn it so you can see. These legs, obviously, you could cut those with the jigsaw if you wanted to. I do it on the bandsaw. And that's just a matter of personal taste. If you want to make them straight or if you want to make them any different, you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to make that front leg go forward instead of backwards, do you. Okay, this is just how I designed it. Don't steal my design, okay, and claim that it's yours. It's mine. So anyway, I got a lot of milling to do. I got to get all this stuff down to about 1 3/16 inches. So I'll get that done, get all the pieces pretty much cut, and then show you guys all how to put it together. See you in a little bit.
All right, so I thought I'd just show you really quickly, in case you don't know how I mill material. I'm going to take it and run it right through the middle of it, so I have 2 pieces out of the 2x6, both the same size, hopefully. And then I'm just going to move my blade over to, 1 inch, and I go to about 1 1/4 inches because I'm going to run my material through the planer to get the saw kerfs out of it. If you don't have a planer, or you could do it on the joiner, then you probably ought to cut it a little bit closer to the size that you want to ultimately end up with, and then you can easily sand the saw kerfs out of there. So, but it's a pretty easy process. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do it with all the material and get it all to the same size.
All right, so we got our parts cut. I thought I'd show you sort of how this thing is laid out real quick before we start assembling the parts. So this I just sort of freehanded. The idea when I originally built it was I wanted to have everything sort of at 15 degrees. Don't ask me why I decided everything needed to be 15 degrees, but I did. So this is 15 degrees off of level here. This is supposed to be 15 degrees back that way. Now, it might not come out that accurately. You might not even want it to be 15. You might want it to be 18. I don't really care. So, but this front one is 15 degrees also. So whatever you make it, this angle is going to be that, and we'll stick with 15 for now. And the way I designed it is this top one here actually comes to square. So this comes down, goes plumb, and then back down to 15 degrees again. So this to here on mine is about 18 3/4. This top one is long to square, and it's about 19.5 roughly, so you get those ideas. Again, this is designed entirely around the cushions that I have. If you're going to do it differently and not using cushions or whatever you're going to do, that's roughly where you can start. If you want to shorten it up, whatever, but that's how I did it. Just so you know, this comes back at an angle off of here is 20 degrees back down this way. If you want it to be a little bit flatter, so your brouhaha doesn't slide down off of here, go ahead and make it flatter if you want. I find this to be pretty comfortable. My arms sit on it at a pretty decent angle, so I like it like that. I like it like that. And then this area here, hope you can see it. This is 24 3/4 across, and again, all of these pieces are not, again, maybe I haven't said it. These pieces are 2 3/4. Basically, if you can think about it, it's because it's half of 5.5. So I'm cutting all these 2x6s in half, and that's what you end up with. That way you get 2 out of 1, and it saves you some money. 2 3/4. This is 24 3/4 in between. So these pieces and the front piece and this back piece are all going to be cut at 24 3/4, and that's going to give you your dimension. Again, based on the cushions that I have, but seems to work out. My fat belly fits in between here pretty well, so I like it like that. And again, it's kind of big. This is a sturdy chair. If you live in a windy area, it's not going to get blown away. So now that we have all these roughly milled, I'll start cutting them all to length. And these guys here, this distance here is 10 5/8 if you're scoring at home. Again, if you want it to be about the same size as mine. And I got about 3/4 in between here, and these are about 5/8 thick. So that seems to work out pretty well. Again, 5/8 works because then you can get 2 out of the thickness of 1.5 inches. Again, I'm just trying to save some dough. So that's the way it went. And it seems to work out proportionally pretty well also. So again, 10 5/8 in between here. This is 24 3/4. So let's start knocking these things all together, and I'll show you how I domino these things together and make this back piece. Same thing with this inner piece here. If you're not using a cushion, I recommend either making more of these or contouring a little bit, because this isn't so comfortable on my butt. It's just they're spaced out too much and it's too flat. So keep that in mind. Think about how you want to make this a little bit gentler inside here if you're going to do it that way. So all right, let's go cut some of these things and start putting this thing together. All right. So last night I got all the pieces cut. The slats for the backrest and the bottom and the top for the backrest. And I'm going to be using the Festool, the Domino Festool rig, to cut mortises in each one of these and in the top and the bottom of this. And the nice thing about the Domino rig is it has an attachment on here that you adjust, and then the piece fits right inside there, all of these pieces, and it makes repeating the mortises really easy. And what I like to do when I'm doing that is I'll take the piece, I'll put it in there, and then that triangle right there is actually the center, so is that hole on the bottom. And I'll just mark those and then take my square and square those lines up, and that way I can take it over to where it goes on the top and the bottom piece, and I will transfer those lines onto this, and then I'll have my exact location for each one of these slats, and I can cut my mortises on this after these are cut. Real nice system. It's a very repeatable system, and as I said before, this is an amazing tool. This also has an adjustment where if you turn and put it on that center mark, when you go to cut, when the bit comes out, it'll go side to side, but it'll go bigger than the actual tenon, the loose tenon. So it'll give you a little bit of slop room. So what I'll do is I'll cut these on the back slats. I'll cut the mortises nice and tight, but then when it comes to this bottom piece, I'll loosen that up a little bit and cut the mortise just a little bit bigger, so that when it comes time to put these in, just because I don't trust myself to be perfect, because I'm not, I'll have a little bit of room to move this back and forth. It'll still be plenty strong enough. I mean, with the glue in there, it's not going anywhere, and there's no force to the sides of these pieces anyway. It's all straight back. So that way I can get my spacing right. I don't think, even if I was off a little bit, you probably wouldn't notice it, but this luxury allows me to move it just a little bit if I need to. So I'm gonna get set to do all these. I'll show you how it's done real quick, and then we'll glue our back up and we'll start on the legs. Okay, so I'll show you real quick what I was doing in that last segment, how I marked it. So you just mark that center triangle, mark that center hole down there on the bottom. Then just take your square and square that up. And that's what we're going to use when we're marking the top and the bottom. So this has already been glued up, as you can see, but what I would do is I'd just take all of these and put them in their proper spaces, get the spacing here, which by the way is 3/4 of an inch, and these guys are all 1 3/4 wide. This initial spacing is 2.5. If you're trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, that's what works. So then I would take this mark, transfer it down onto here, and that's where the tenon's going to go into this piece. So that's where you put your mortise. Same thing on the top. So I'll show you real quick how the Festool does this. just clamp it in. Make sure you clamp it in pretty good. I've already got this set up for the right depth, and it slips right over that. Tap, tap, tap. So now you got a nice little, I call that a mortise, but really it's going to turn into a tenon. Now this is the wrong size one. I don't have the right length one, but that's the idea. And then you do the same thing on the bottom, and that's what then goes into these slots and what forms the mortise and the tenon. Now it really is pretty incredible that I can make a tenon for this thing that quickly. It wouldn't be the end of the world if you had to do it on the table saw, but this obviously is pretty quick. And again, they make these in all different lengths and different thicknesses and widths and all that. And so it's really, really cool system. But I was thinking about this, that I said earlier that I don't know if you can get away with not mortise and tenoning this. I think you could actually dowel it, and it would be totally fine. So those of you who don't have the ability to do mortise and tenons, or I think that would work. And they make easy doweling jigs and pins and so forth. And again, this is really the only thing that has to have that. So if you want to dowel this, I think it would be perfect. And it's an easy thing to do, and it'll get away from not having to buy a $900 machine just to make this one piece. So go dowels. Even if I think you just glued these back things onto this panel, it would probably be okay. I might go, these are 5/8 of an inch, this thickness. If I were to glue it, I might go 3/4 just to give myself a little bit more. But dowel it if you don't have the ability to make mortise and tenons, and it'll be just fine. And that's an easy thing to do. So that's how the domino rig works. If you can get one, they're terrific. Otherwise, you can make do. Cut the mortise and tenons by hand, or just simply dowel it. All right, let's move on.
Okay, so I thought I'd just show you real quick how to glue this up. So just put a little glue on the ends of all the tenons, all the pieces, and not a ton. Don't use a ton of glue, just use enough. And you're going to want to put some glue in the holes in the mortises also. And again, don't put too much in there because it'll squeeze out like crazy, and you don't want that, and it'll actually kind of fight you. And then just put it on top and it slips right on. No, it doesn't. Let's try it this way. And this way, this is easy. It'll line right up, and all you do is sort of tap it a little bit, and no, that's not going to work either, is it? Okay, so if you're dumb like me, just keep hitting it. Maybe it'll go in, then hit it some more, and maybe it'll go. No, it's still not going in. You need to make sure that those are all lined up, and Silly over here just keeps hitting at it. But eventually I figured out that one of them's fighting me right there on the end. So once you get that figured out, that, oh, there it is. Yeah, it's not lined up over the hole. Then you can start at the other end and at one end. And once that taps in, then it all goes in. And then just clamp it up and make sure it's square and let it sit overnight, and you're good to go.
All right, so our back's done. Came out pretty well. Don't worry too much when you're gluing it up, if you're fighting it and to try and get it to be square. If all your back slats are lined up pretty nicely and everything looks like it's got good spacing, don't worry about if it's a little racked, because you can always come back and snip a little off of that or snip a little off of that and then get it to be square. As long as you haven't cut all your other components to length, like these guys, the 24 3/4. If you've done that, then you're a little screwed. You'll have to cut all of those again too. So whatever you end up here, if it's 24 3/4 or 24 11/16, whatever it is, that's what you're going to cut all the rest of the components at. So that's done, but so's my time. I can only make 15-minute videos, so I got to move on. I'll make another video after this one to show you how the rest of it goes, how I lay out for the legs and how the other components are cut and all of that good stuff. And then we'll put it together and we'll have ourselves a chair. So hopefully you enjoyed this one enough to tune into the next one and see how the rest of it goes. See you then.